From your local news leader, this is KTTC News.
First at 5, former President Donald Trump must pay writer E. Jean Carroll more than $83 million in damages for repeatedly defaming her. That is what a New York jury found late this afternoon. I'm Brock Burgee. Thanks for being with us tonight. That decision came after contentious closing arguments that actually saw Trump storm right out of the courtroom. Now, Trump returned for his own attorney's closing arguments, but left before the 9-person jury returned its verdict. The trial started on January 16th, and Trump was the final witness in the case, testifying in just under 5 minutes. The verdict is the second for Carroll against Trump. A different jury found last year that he was liable for sexually abusing her in a New York City department store back in the 1990s and for defaming her by mocking her claims after he left the White House. They awarded her the then $5 million in damages, a judgment Trump is appealing. Let's take a look now at how the $83.3 million sum is breaking down here. The jury awarded Carroll $11 million in damages for the harm done to her reputation, another $7.3 million for emotional harm and other damages, with the lion's share, $65 million in punitive damages. Now, Carroll's lawyer asked the jury for at least $24 million to stop Trump from continuing to defame her. Meanwhile, Trump's attorney contended that Carroll, quote, had failed to show she is entitled to any damages at all. Beware of thin ice. That is the message from the DNR. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is working on spreading this warning as our temperatures continue to go up, and that is causing frozen lake conditions across the state to go down. We bring in Megan Zempel now. She spoke to the DNR today to learn more about what this means for all of those winter lovers out there. And the news is not so good, Megan.
Hi, Brock. Yeah, you're right. The news is not really all that great. Well, we're well into winter here, and usually ice is pretty thick, but now this warm weather, it's time to use even more caution. The Minnesota DNR says ice is never 100% safe. You can't judge the strength of the ice just by how it looks. The DNR says strength is based on the depth of water under the ice, the size of the body of water, water currents, and local climate. The DNR does not measure thickness on Minnesota lakes, and the DNR also says 4 inches of clear, newly formed ice may support one person on foot, while older ice that measures a foot or more may not support a person. You want to look for clear ice instead of cloudy ice. Cloudy ice means there are air bubbles in it, which makes it weaker.
With the warm temperatures coming up in the forecast, it's important that people really take caution and don't treat this year like they do every single winter. It isn't the same. And so, if you have, right now you're taking your truck or wheelhouse onto your lake, be careful next week and consider maybe removing your wheelhouses before the ice becomes unsafe.
Biaggi says pools of water on the ice doesn't necessarily mean the ice is thin, but it does mean it is at higher risk of degrading faster. And finally, the DNR recommends you measure the ice before you walk out on it. And just because you see other people driving their trucks on it doesn't mean you should too. In the studio, Megan Zempel, KTTC News.
We bring in Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen. I should have known that, Sarah. You got me.
Hey,
all right.
Brock.
Hey, I gave you a promotion on air. We have meteorologist Sarah Gannon. And I knew better, Sarah. Hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about something brighter, hopefully. Some warmer temperatures and at least some sunshine returning next week, huh?
Yeah, Brock, hey, I think that will be the bright spot that we're looking ahead to in the coming week. We have had several days in a row with cloudy skies, the fog, the drizzle. It's just kind of gloomy feeling out here as we round out the work week. But as we look ahead to next week, though, tracking some sunshine and those milder temperatures. However, we still have more fog on the way here for tonight and into your Saturday morning. Dense fog advisory for all of these counties here in kind of a darker gray. This does include Malheur County, Dodge County, Olmsted County and down towards Preston and Decorah into northern Iowa there. This remains in effect until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we are looking at some thick fog in the area. Here's a live look from your Lewis Notto live camera right here from Signal Hill there overlooking Highway 52 and Bandel Road. You can see it very difficult out there. The National Weather Service station there at RST, Rochester International Airport, registering fog there at the airport. Area wide, we continue to see that thick fog, zero visibility being reported for the Rochester area. However, you see those bigger concerns out in the country, not necessarily within city limits, but down to about a quarter of a mile for Preston, at Austin, even Charles City. So looking ahead to a little bit more drizzle here for tonight, cloudy skies in addition to that thick fog. Temperatures overall staying mild there into those mid-30s. We look to continue on with our light winds as well. So for the rest of tonight and even into early tomorrow morning, anticipate thick fog in throughout parts of the area. Mild temperatures continue. It'll be next week that we bring in some of that sunshine. So we'll track some of that here for you coming up in your first alert weather. Brock.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much. This winter weather that we are experiencing likely has our farmers in Minnesota and Iowa likely to see a little bit of benefit from those warmer temperatures and also the recent rainfall. The mild winter has allowed the fields to be recharged with rainfall and precipitation from the oppressive drought we experienced this summer and also into the fall. Even though it is mild right now, an advantage during a harsher winter is that the colder temperatures could freeze the ground enough to kill off some invasive insects. It is still too early, too far out to tell if farmers will be able to take advantage of getting to the field early in the spring based off what we're seeing so far this winter.
Because there is so little frost in the soil right now that whatever we get for precipitation and snowfall through the rest of the winter here is likely to soak in and recharge some of that soil moisture that's been quite a deficit now since the middle of summer.
Meantime, a new farm bill remains in limbo after Congress voted last fall to extend the funding for another year, but industry leaders say a new farm bill needs to be passed quickly. KTTC's Washington News Bureau reporter Stenson Miller has that story.
The Farm Bill is a crucial piece of legislation that tries to make sure food remains affordable and accessible and also helps out farmers. It's supposed to be updated every 5 years, but that deadline passed months ago. Right now, it's unclear when this piece of legislation will get passed. Congress gave itself an extra year to pass a new farm bill back in September and voted to continue funding farming programs at 2018 levels. Today, it still remains in limbo, and some in the farming industry say a new bill needs to be passed quickly.
I know that we need to get through the budget process, but we also need to tell Congress and urge them to pass a new, modernized farm bill.
The bill is a major priority for ranking member of the Senate Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee, John Boozman, but he says that the government funding fights that have plagued Congress recently haven't made getting a new one passed easy.
That's really kind of taken all of the effort by so many members. And as a result, it's kind of pushed everything else to the side for a little bit.
And the senator says he wants to get it right because it's a major piece of legislation that provides farmers with funding and insurance and also pays for nutrition programs like the SNAP program. And that's why he's traveled to nearly 20 states to talk to farmers about what a modernized farm bill should look like. And he's heard from many of them about the major challenges facing farmers now.
It doesn't matter where farmers are at, they're all the same. They're really concerned about the risk management tools. They're concerned about trade. Trade is the lifeblood of agriculture.
He does say that the goal is to get the bill passed in the coming months and notes there is a lot of bipartisan support for the bill.
Most people want to get a farm bill done. They realize how important it is. Most of our states, it's the number one economic driver of the state.
In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
Staying with politics now, in his visit to Minnesota and Wisconsin yesterday, President Joe Biden mentioned several investments his administration has made, and that includes broadband. While Biden highlighted billions in federal monies going towards that project, Minnesota's state government has been working in tandem to address broadband needs. KTTC's Quinn Gorham explains how the record-breaking state investment is making a difference.
President Biden visited the Twin Ports on Thursday mainly to highlight investments in infrastructure into the decades-old Blotnick Bridge. But while he was there, he also mentioned other investments and highlighted things like $2.5 billion in broadband investments for Minnesota and Wisconsin. The Biden administration estimates the money will save more than 600,000 families about $30 per month on internet. But that money, made available through a nationwide federal grant program, is just one piece of the broadband puzzle here in the North Star State. In 2023, a bipartisan effort in the state legislature secured a record-breaking $100 million in state funding for the very same thing. Legislators say pairing the two investments allows the state to fully take advantage of the money here and now. While it's the biggest push for rural broadband in state history, it's not the end of the line for such investments, according to State Representative Christy Purcell.
We need to continue to invest in this program, and we need to do that until every Minnesotan is connected. And we know $100 million is not going to do it. And so I hope that this continues until we get everybody connected.
Investments into broadband come as part of the state's agriculture omnibus bill and its appropriations. We likely won't see another broadband budget until the next budgeting bill after the election cycle this year has taken place. That said, broadband is a continuing process. The state has bookmarked 2026 as the date that it wants to have high-speed internet in every corner of the state. Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
The president's remarks on broadband come just a few weeks after Governor Walz visited southern Minnesota to highlight state progress. Still ahead for you here tonight on your news at 5. We welcome in our White House correspondent with a reaction to our top story on Donald Trump's latest legal battle. Plus, facts or fiction? Does vitamin C actually prevent colds? We'll check in with one Mayo Clinic doctor. And in your first alert weather forecast, dreary day. That's the word I'm looking for out there. Sunshine is set to return soon, though. Those details with Sarah when she joins us next. As we reported at the top of your news here at 5, a jury has awarded an additional $83.3 million to former advice columnist E. Jean Carroll, who says former President Donald Trump damaged her reputation by calling her a liar after she accused him of sexual assault. Let's bring in KTTC's White House correspondent, John Decker. John, tell us a little bit more about what this award actually means for the former president, especially in the midst of his ongoing campaign.
Well, it was a federal jury. The jury deliberations lasted less than 3 hours, and the 9-person jury ultimately came to the decision to award E. Jean Carroll, the writer that you mentioned, $83.3 million. The way it breaks down, $18.3 million in compensatory damages for damaging her reputation, $65 million in punitive damages that was awarded by this jury. Donald Trump has already put out a statement saying he disagrees with this verdict coming from this 9-person federal jury, says that he will appeal this verdict. On appeal, sometimes the amount, if it's excessive, is lowered by the appellate court. We'll have to wait and see, but it is likely that at the end of the day, Donald Trump will be writing a check to E. Jean Carroll for defaming her several times while he was president of the United States, according to a jury that made that determination.
To a different topic, John, earlier today, the United Nations International Court of Justice ruled that Israel must take measures to prevent genocide in Gaza. But the court actually stopped short of ordering an immediate ceasefire in Israel's war with Hamas. So, John, how did Israel and also the Biden White House react to this ruling today?
There really is no daylight in terms of the reaction to this determination by the International Court of Justice at the UN. No daylight separating the two positions of the Biden administration and that of the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The U.S. maintains that there has been no evidence that genocide has been committed, no targeting specifically of Palestinians by the Israeli Defense Forces. And they also maintain now is not the time for a permanent ceasefire. However, the U.S. has been pushing for these humanitarian pauses. They have been successful. We've seen that take place when humanitarian pauses have taken place, sometimes lasting for several days. We've seen the release of more than 100 Israeli hostages and a few Americans by the terrorist group Hamas. That is what the U.S. government is pushing for. That's what the Israeli government is also pushing for.
KTTC's White House correspondent John Decker reporting for us live in Washington tonight. John, thanks so much. Have a good weekend. Overseas, where King Charles is said to be doing well after having planned treatments to address an enlarged prostate. A royal source said that after he was admitted to the same hospital where his daughter-in-law Kate is also recovering from surgery. A smiling Queen Camilla left London Clinic in West London, and a royal source confirmed the procedure had taken place and that he was doing well. Buckingham Palace said in an earlier statement that, quote, His Majesty would like to thank all of those who have sent their good wishes over the past week and is delighted to learn that his diagnosis is having a positive impact on public health awareness.
Here's your first alert weather with meteorologist Sarah Gannon.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Today's my Monday.
So is it a happy Friday when you start on a Monday?
I don't know.
Relative. It's all relative, right?
It is. So I get to see everybody. We're kind of back in action, getting back in gear as everyone's getting ready for the weekend. So
when are we going to see the sun? That's the big question.
It'll take a couple days, I think as we head towards later in the day, Sunday, especially into Monday, I think we'll start to get some sunshine back in the area. So that's kind of the bright note for the forecast here as we look ahead. But still, more foggy conditions ahead as we roll into tonight and into tomorrow morning as well. So we look at that dense fog advisory still in place across southeast Minnesota and parts of southeast Minnesota and northeast Iowa. So this does include Olmsted County, Rochester area towards Mower County, Dodge County, Fillmore County down to Winnebago County and Howard and Chickasaw County as well, really pushing off towards the riverside and back into Wisconsin. So this will be in place until about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're anticipating to see more dense fog here across the area. This is a live look outside. This is right here from Signal Hill. You should typically be able to see Highway 52 there, Vandal Road, maybe catching just a few car lights there, but that's just how thick the fog is. And we're just kind of on the northern edge of town there. So imagine being out in the countryside and out further out of town. So if you're within city limits, the fog shouldn't be too bad. It should be pretty manageable, but it will be mainly, especially outside of town in the rural areas, that we'll see more of those thicker conditions there when it comes to that fog. So fog being registered here in Rochester, Austin, and Winona. Cloudy skies down towards Mason City. Those temperatures staying pretty mild there into the 30s. So we continue with that mild stretch, but here's a look at some of this visibility around the area. Down to about 0 for Rochester and Preston. Just a quarter of a mile there in the Charles City area, half a mile in Austin, 3/4 of a mile towards Albert Lee and Mason City. So some pretty thick fog here in southeast Minnesota, northeast Iowa this evening, and we'll look to see more of that thick fog continuing, especially as we head into the evening hours, overnight, and into tomorrow morning as well. The good news is we'll start to see some improvement there later on towards your Saturday afternoon, so we'll have to continue to watch that potential for maybe a bit more foggy conditions as we roll into Saturday evening. So tonight we continue on with that dense fog, some drizzle still possible, but we can look to stay with those mild temps through the weekend. Next week, tracking some sunshine and more mild temperatures. So we're just cloudy, some drizzle, some fog out there right now as we check in with your future track radar. Notice, though, further off to our west, we're seeing high pressure building into the area. So that is a good indication that we're looking to see more quiet weather, but should be able to clear out that cloud cover, get some sunshine back in the area. So sunshine tracker looks to keep those clouds in place for Saturday, but by Sunday into Monday, looking to bring a bit more sunshine back in the area and looking at partly cloudy skies here for the area. Timing things out with Future Track, we look to stay pretty quiet here for tonight. Fog still in place, temperatures holding steady there into those low 30s. We pretty much stay in those 30s as we head throughout the day on Saturday, and basically repeat performance as we look ahead into Sunday. We'll look to see a little bit of clearing, though, with that cloud cover later on in the afternoon. So when we look at our temperatures, long range forecast there, Climate Prediction Center anticipating as we start off the month of February and even into the first couple weeks there, anticipating to continue on with more above average temperatures. Tonight, we continue with that fog. Temperatures stay mild in the upper 20s to low 30s. Tomorrow, we look to bring those temps pretty much at par is what we'll see here for the overnight hours, but staying in those low to mid 30s. Some morning fog is still expected for the area. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. I'm very excited for that sunshine. We deserve it after a bit of a cloudy and foggy, and I'm running out of adjectives to kind of describe how conditions have been feeling here. You know, we've enjoyed the mild temps, but it's just that fog, you know. It almost looks like a scene out of like a spooky Batman kind of a movie, you know.
And it does. I think you're right. It provides kind of some brain fog, too, because it's so dreary and kind of depressing.
A little bit. But we'll get the sun, Brock. Don't worry.
All right.
We'll get it.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to check in now with Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, a successful event today serving the unhoused community in Olmsted County. It's all about connecting people with help that's out there. We'll show you today's Project Community Connect event when we see you back here tonight at 6. Brock will be right back.
It might just be an old wives' tale, but it is one that has lasted for many years. You have probably heard that taking vitamin C can prevent or relieve the common cold. So the question is there any truth to it? In tonight's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither separates fact from fiction and has more with a Mayo Clinic doctor on how to stay healthy this respiratory virus season.
When it comes to the common cold, it's a story that's passed through generations. Vitamin C can prevent or cure symptoms, but is it fact or fiction?
Vitamin C is not a silver bullet. It's not going to be magical and get you just over this cold.
Dr. Jesse Bracamonte with Mayo Clinic says that while there's no research proving vitamin C can stop you from getting or feeling sick, there are some studies which suggest it may help relieve symptoms sooner, but only by about 10%. Regardless, he says vitamin C is an important part of health.
It helps collagen formation. It helps tissues heal. It helps protein and muscle form and stay healthy. It helps your immune system work well. So that's what vitamin C does.
It's found in foods like citrus fruits, berries, peppers, tomatoes, and broccoli.
The average orange has about 50 milligrams of vitamin C. So an orange, a strawberry, some of that, just nature's way of getting vitamin C should be enough to sustain you.
If you want to get more vitamin C, Bracamonte says supplements may be helpful, but to see a doctor before taking them.
Too much of anything is not a good thing.
And if you're looking for relief from a cold, you may just need some patience.
I just tell people old-fashioned thyme, rest, chicken soup can also be the best medicine.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
There you have it. We'll be right back.
Well, Tom Holland is a famous actor known for his role as Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But what about Tom Hollander? Oh.
What about him? A fellow British actor, just 2 letters off. He's got the E and the R at the end of his name. Looking nothing alike, though. On NBC's, I should say, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Hollander revealed that he sometimes gets confused for the younger actor. And it actually resulted in him getting some extra money from a box office bonus for the Avengers movie he was not in. That's not a bad thing to have happen, is it? If you're Tom Hollander.
Does he have to give it back?
I don't know.
What does this guy look like?